Hi, and welcome to my presentation. Today I will present a journal critique on modality and redundancy principles, dual channel processing. And I hope this will be a beneficial presentation for you. And so let's get right into it. In the table of contents, we see that we will do an introduction. We will discuss what is online learning. Then we will discuss multimedia principle and then the three main assumptions associated with that principle. Then we will actually discuss the CLMT flowchart, and then we'll get into our research questions, designs, participants, settings, procedures, and finally our results. Okay, so in our introduction, we see that computer-based media has continued to grow and become more popular in the education arena. Technology has continually advanced with tremendous capabilities, and we can tell that as much as we are around our classrooms and our schools, we see that our lessons and our curriculum are being more and more integrated with digital media, and our lessons are pretty much integrated with the digital media, and our kids are enjoying it. Right? So many forms of multimedia curriculum have been integrated into the classroom, and understanding how humans learn and process information plays a big role in how multimedia learning presentations are developed. This presentation will review four separate studies to illustrate how using various protocols in supporting Mayer's cognitive theory of multimedia learning can be applied to design effective multimedia online instruction. Okay, so what is online learning? Well, we see here we have a computer. I assume that's a computer. I hope what you see on your in your rooms in your schools will look a lot better than this. But this is an example, and but we want our integrations in our multimedia lessons to be attractive to our learners, because we want them to be excited about interacting with the media and being encouraged to learn. Most of our kids, our youngsters nowadays, grow up with media from very early age, so they are very used to the media, and they get very bored really quick when they don't have access to the media, right? And so basically anything that's interacted with the computer, and some people say, they call it e-learning, or they call it digital learning, or some people even say computer-based learning, but they're all meaning digital learning tools. And so basically, it's instruction delivered on a digital device that is intended to support learning. Okay? So the principle known as the multimedia principle states that people learn more deeply from words and pictures than from words alone. Let you think about that for a minute. We learn more deeply from words and pictures than from words alone. And you can think about that and realize that, it's so much easier when there's a picture involved, and you can form a picture in your mind and relate to that a lot easier than trying to translate words into pictures. Okay? So there are three main assumptions when it comes to learning with multimedia. One is there are two separate channels, auditory and visual, for processing information, and it's sometimes called a dual channel processing. Two, each channel has a limited finite capacity. And three, learning is an active process of filtering, selecting, organizing, and integrating information based upon prior knowledge. So let's get a little more deep into that. Okay, so first, humans can only process a finite amount of information in a channel at a time, and they make sense of incoming information by actively creating mental representations. 2, Mayer also discusses the role of 3 memory stores. Sensory, which receives stimuli and stores it for a very short time. That's our short-term memory. Working, where we actively process information to create mental constructs or schema. That's our working memory. And long-term, the repository of all things learned, which is our long-term memory. Bet you didn't know you were that complicated, did you? There's a lot goes into learning, and that's why sometimes we get a headache when it comes to learning. And 3, Mayer cognitive theory of multimedia learning presents the idea that the brain does not interpret a multimedia presentation of words, pictures, and auditory information in a mutually exclusive fashion. Rather, these elements are selected and organized dynamically to produce logical mental constructs. There's a lot goes on to learning. Okay, let's take a look at the picture of the cognitive theory of multimedia learning, and we can see those statements that we just discussed. Here's a picture of it. Okay, so we get a multimedia presentation, and we take in both from words and pictures, and then it goes into our sensory memory. It enters our ears and our eyes, and then those selected words go into our working memory, and the images go into our working memory, and then we organize it, and then it goes into a verbal model and a pictorial model, and then we bring in knowledge that we have in our long-term memory, and then we mix it all up and we get a picture. So we can kind of see that picture of those rules that we just visited just a minute ago. Okay. Now let's look at some of our research questions from some of the studies that have been done. Okay. So Mayer presented questions of instructional media. Does it cause learning, or does instructional methods cause learning? And can non-conventional media be the result of certain instructional technology? Then Hull and his team asked, what should students who major in information systems management learn, and how should they learn it? And how can NAVs assist in building problem-solving skills in IS management learning? Then Ricardo and his team proposed the question that can novel online video models be used in ongoing education of IT, even if the expectation for objectivity is hardly explored? Some interesting questions, huh? And then Kavanaugh and Kirsch proposed the question of how can we better understand the cognitive theory of multi-process learning, relationship in working memory capacity and duration, information retrieval, importance in the learning process, and how information selection and organization processes impact learning. Okay, those are all interesting questions. So they did studies to try to answer these questions. Okay. Now in the designs, Mayer took a qualitative approach in researching and comparing multimedia learning artifacts ranging over 30 years. Then he said researching for information included knowledge bases, literature libraries, and personal writings, and even conversing with other professionals and researchers. Hull and his team used the design thinking methodology to perform brainstorming sessions, prototyping, and testing based on 5 phases to include empathy, definition, ideation, prototyping, testing, and finally, a statistical analysis. Then Ricardo and his team took a qualitative design approach by comparing the existence of multimedia content and theories such as CTML, CLT, and a mixed text and picture model, all published by other professionals and researchers in the field of education. Then Kavanaugh and Kirsch took a qualitative design approach by conducting a critical review of CTML, organized by a series of inquiries focusing on how CTML in online learning instructions scenarios identifies framework shortcomings and gaps in different research presentations. So you can see there's quite a bit of testing that has gone on, and several different questions that have been asked and need to be answered. Okay, so in the participants, we see that Mayer did not use participants, but he did independent research performed by himself. And in that independent research, I'm sure he had discussions with other researchers as well. While Hull and his team used students who were planning careers in IS and studying IS management, in contrast to Ricardo and his team, who used existing IT professionals. And Kavanaugh and Kirsch used non-traditional adult students for their study. So you can see there's a mixture, and there's some likeness, but there's a variety of participants participating in these tests, in these studies. Okay, so in the settings, Mayer did not indicate where his study took place, but I assume that the study took place in a research, educational, university environment. Hull and his team research took place in a university environment using IS students to be trained for the workplace environment. Then Ricardo and his team performed their study in a professional environment with internet access. And then Kavanaugh and Kirsch performed their study in a university professional environment where online instruction could be accessed and tested. Now, on the research procedures, we see that Mayer, in his journal, uses his personal experiences to present his developments for over 30 years of research. He focuses on contributions to the sciences of learning, which is how people learn, instruction, which is how to help people learn, and assessment, which is how to determine what people have learned. Ricardo and his team research procedure included the design thinking methodology to perform brainstorming sessions and prototyping and testing based on 5 phases to include empathy, definition, ideation, prototyping, testing, and statistical analysis. Hull and his team research procedure was to present narrative animated videos using 3 approaches to learning to include self-determined learning, including homework, then team-based collaborative learning, and finally self-regulated learning. Kavanaugh and Kirsch research procedure included managing the recommendations from the CTML theoretical framework and its relation to online multimedia lessons for adult learning, and identifying limitations that were identified while applying the CTML theory. And the results, drum roll, Mayer concluded that learners will continue to continue their exposure to online learning, and the online instruction design will face practical and theoretical challenges in the future. There will also be opportunities for future advances. Mayer proposes that there will there will be numerous improvements in the sciences in learning, instruction, and assessment. Mayer's study shows that applied cognitive psychology research remain an exciting and productive activity. So there's still a lot going on. There's still a lot to learn. So and as we say, as technology continues to go forward, so do the opportunity to learn more and to integrate more into the classroom. Okay, now Hull and his team offers direction for 3 new areas of research that IS management students should follow in learning and how it should be learned. Ricardo and his team found that the new video models used in the testing process were better than the web selected videos for the IT professionals. And they applied the concepts introduced in the new video model better. The design thinking methodology introduced new elements from design that applied well to distance education. Okay, so you can see that there's several places or several entities that are being affected by these tests and the results. Kavanaugh and Kurtz concluded that online multimedia curriculum is great for successful learning, and CTML is theoretically sound in creating the curriculum. So there's some good results. There's some average results, and then there are some things that need to be improved and look forward to improving in the future. Okay, so that wraps up our presentation, and these are our references that contributed to this information. So we hope that you were able to get some valuable information. And if you have any questions for follow-up, you can contact me, and I will do my best to answer your questions. Thank you so much for joining this presentation, and God bless.